Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, we are continuing the coverage of the Idaho 4 quadruple murder near the campus of the University of Idaho. And obviously, this is a sensational story that is staying on a lot of people's timelines because this cannot die out until the suspect is caught. Is there a suspect? Well, not that the cops are naming one yet, because that's exactly what they say. We have not named a suspect. I'm not saying that we don't have a suspect. They've not named a suspect. And so we're going to be diving into what this timeline is that they're missing when it comes to Ethan and Xana, the couple who were staying together that night in the home. Now, Xana, she lives in that home where they were all brutally stabbed to death. But Ethan is the boyfriend. And so he was staying with her, but had been out partying at his frat house. And so now the cops want to narrow in and really dig deep onto this timeline. And let me tell you, a lot of people have been questioning that. A lot of people who are following the story, like, okay, that timeline, we want to know more. And so now we're digging deeper into this little timeline that the cops are trying to zero in on. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Why don't we, my friends? Cops are zeroing in on the timeline of these two students. So the police in Idaho say they are now seeking any more information they can possibly find on the earlier movement of Ethan and Xana, the couple who were killed in the quadruple homicide last month, as they denied telling the family of victim Kaylee Goncalves that her injuries were more brutal than those of the other victims. So, of course, we're always wondering, well, where did the dad, Steve, get this information? Is someone leaking any information? Is he pretty much diving into it from here? Now, we do know that he is looking to hire a private investigator because it does not sound like he trusts law enforcement here. My question, though, is why haven't they brought the FBI in? Are the FBI involved? I still do not understand why the FBI is not involved if they're not involved. We have heard that federal authorities are involved, but why isn't the FBI involved? Or is that the FBI when they refer to federal authorities? And so Stephen Goncalves, he said that he found out that the injuries were more brutal than those of the other victims. Now, here's the truth. Brian Enton of News Nation Now also shared that breaking news as well. And so in its latest statement on the November 13th murders, the Moscow Police Department said just yesterday, December 5th, that it is probing the movements of victims Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle, who visited Ethan's fraternity house hours before that. You can see a picture of Ethan's fraternity home right here. And so fraternities party, right? So there's a good chance that they were partying. It was a Saturday night. I know that when I was in a fraternity, when I was in college, every Saturday was party. Whether we were going to other fraternities to party, whether we were going to sororities' homes to parties, they were coming over here to party. Fraternities party a lot. But police believe that Ethan and Xana had visited the Sigma Chi house on the University of Idaho campus from about 9 p.m. on November 12th until around 1:05 p.m. when they returned to Xana's off-campus home, which is just a short little walk away from the Sigma Chi house. Now, Idaho State Police, the person who has been pretty much their spokesperson the whole time, Aaron Snell, he said that That actually seems to be one of the larger areas that we don't have a lot of information in. And this was the I'm sorry, Idaho State Police Communications Director, Aaron Snell, who shared that with Good Morning America. And he adds that being able to locate what they did that night, to maybe who they contacted, maybe any routes that they took home, that would be important to the investigation. That's what he shared. Ethan and Xana, both 20 years old, who were dating, they were stabbed to death along with Xana's roommates, Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogan, who, those two girls, both 21, they were all stabbed to death in the home that they shared, likely while they were sleeping. Now, police still have no suspects and no murder weapons. Now, earlier appeals to the public had focused on Kaylee and Madison's activities on the night of the murders, which involved stops at a sports bar and a food truck. Now, you know, meanwhile, let's be real, there's a lot of tension going on around this whole investigation between the investigators and the families of the victims. And the families of the victims, they have spoken out in frustration about the failure to identify a suspect. Haley's father, Stephen Goncalves, he shared that. He was upset about this whole thing. And so he shared, he previously told News Nation's Brian, and that police had told him her injuries were worse than the other victims, but he didn't go into detail. But see, here's the thing. Moscow police contradicted that remark in their new statement, saying, with the active criminal investigation, law enforcement has not released additional facts to the family or the public. They say that in this statement, there have been statements and speculations about this case, victim injuries, cause of death, evidence collections, and processing and investigative techniques. This is what the statement yesterday that came out had shared. However, we firmly believe speculation and unvetted information is a disservice to the victims, their families, and our community, it continued, echoing from prior statements, as the small town department leading the investigation has come under increasing criticism because the public wants to know more, the family wants to know more, and the police do not want to hinder their investigation, which is very normal in investigations like this. Now, police also said that they looked into the theory that Kaylee had a stalker as they continue to search for answers almost 4 weeks now into this investigation of the 4 University of Idaho students who were all murdered at their off-campus house on November 13th. Police said that in mid-October, 2 males appeared to follow Kaylee inside the local Moscow business. And so that's why Haley thought she had a stalker. And this is Kaylee's family here. After speaking with the 2 males, police determined that it was an isolated incident and said there was no evidence to suggest they were involved in the murders. The update yesterday revealed that there were 2 males seen inside the unknown business before they parted ways, with 1 male following Kaylee inside the business. He was then seen following her outside the business as she walked to her car. Now, here's the truth. It is no secret Kaylee is an attractive young girl. So obviously these 2 kids, they sound like young men. They noticed an attractive girl, and it looks like they were following her, probably to get her number or something along those lines. I'm speculating about this. And so it was revealed that these 2 males, they were not actually associated at all, and they weren't really stalking her. The male turned away from her, and it did not appear he made any contact with her, according to the police. Police did not say what business that this incident had occurred at, but police contacted both males and learned that the two were attempting just to meet women at the business, which was corroborated through additional investigation. You know, video surveillance, talking to other females in the area, talking to other people, pulling both guys aside and saying, "What were you doing over there? What were you guys doing over there? You were seen." And basically, like, hey, we just wanted to, I'm speculating a little bit, but bottom line, it was not a stalker. Okay. So this looks to be where that stalker comment came from in the first place. Because, of course, she probably going to tell her dad or her sister, like, "Hey, something weird happened to me. I saw some guy follow me into the store. I noticed that he then followed me." Yeah, that does sound a little alarming, to be honest with you. But it looks like, they might have seen an attractive girl and wanted her digits, something like that along those lines. And so that's what we know when it comes to the stalker comments. I'll get back to the Nancy Grace comments here shortly. But police went back and did more investigation in the home, and then came back out with bags, brown paper bags of what may be more evidentiary items. And so one of the surviving roommates, actually both of the surviving roommates, did finally release a statement. I'm going to share one of these statements with you. Dylan Mortensen and I believe it's Bethany, they both were the surviving roommates in this case. They were the ones that lived in the first floor. Dylan Mortensen did share a statement that was shared by, I believe, the priest at the celebration of life, the vigil for the girls. And Dylan says, "I know somewhere Xana and Ethan are together, keeping each other company, watching us and telling us it's okay and that we have each other. Maddie and Kaylee, the inseparable duo, the two best friends that were like sisters." Again, another comment about how close Maddie and Kaylee were. It's obvious. Everyone who knew these two knew these girls were as close as it possibly gets to being sisters. And even Olivia, who is the biological sister of Kaylee, referred to Maddie and Kaylee in one post. She went into the Facebook group and even created a post about the two girls. And she first said, "My two sisters," and then she went back and edited to clarify that Kaylee is the biological sister, and Madison she loved as much as she loved Kaylee. To her, these two girls were both her as close as biological sisters who got along can be. And so, again, another comment about these two best friends that were like sisters in this. And I did get this image. I actually kind of forgot where I got this image from. I'm so sorry. Poopies. I should have given credit where I got this image from. And Murphy, the dog that was found at the scene, it has not yet been determined what room the dog was in when the murders took place. We do know that there were two empty rooms, and one of those rooms could have been where the dog was. And it is said that, according to the release, during the search of the home, a dog was found in a room where the crime had not been committed. Officers did not find any evidence on the dog, and there was no indication that the animal had entered the crime scene. The dog was taken to animal services and released to a responsible person. 3 weeks after this grisly murder, few answers have come out, and authorities have yet to name anyone as a person of interest, anyone as a suspect. Now, let it be known that they said they have not named a suspect. Not that they don't have a suspect, they haven't named. That is on their website. You looked at my video yesterday, you saw me report on that. And so Kaylee and Madison, they were sleeping in the very top floor. Now, Xana and Ethan, they were on the second floor. Cops said that the killer entered the house through a sliding glass door on the second floor, which was level with the backyard. Now, two other roommates that were in the house but were unharmed and unaware the attack occurred, they were sleeping on the first floor. Detectives have sifted through more than 2,600 email tips, 2,700 phone tips, and over 1,000 digital media submissions, according to the most recent update. And Moscow police said in a statement just yesterday, "We believe someone has information that will add context to the picture investigators are creating of what occurred that evening. Our focus is the investigation, not the activities. Your information, whether you believe it is significant or not, might be one of the puzzle pieces that help solve these murders." Last week, Idaho State Police spokesman Aaron Snell, he told DailyMail.com that it's possible all four victims could have been the intended target of this gruesome stabbings. He confirmed investigators have gathered enough evidence to suggest the killings were targeted, but admitted that they are no closer to identifying the murderer. And so this update on Monday stated that we have not changed our belief that the murders were a targeted attack. However, investigators have not concluded if the target was the residents or its occupants. Now, one of the parents, Xana's mom, on a phone interview, she said she doesn't believe that the home was targeted. She believes the kids, one of the kids, were targeted. Now, Ethan Goncalves, after finding out that his daughter was the one that was most brutally stabbed to death in this whole thing, he said, "I hope it wasn't my daughter that was the targeted one." And I'm going to go off of saying that I believe he just shared that he would feel, I feel that was a sign of, I would feel so guilty if all these kids were killed because my daughter was targeted. That's my thought process on that comment there. And so these two girls who lived on the very top floor, again, Kaylee Goncalves' dad is the one that said, like, "Hey, my daughter was the one that was stabbed way worse than all of them." Brian Enton confirmed, according to his confirmation, that she was stabbed more than anyone else. And so this update comes that, they still believe someone was targeted. But according to Aaron Snell, he doesn't know if the target was the residents or its occupants. Now, autopsies determined that the four students were stabbed to death, likely with a fixed blade knife. And investigators checked with local stores to see if any had sold any military style knives. And you can see here where these poor kids, to me they're still kids, where they were stabbed at. And so, back to the comment about Nancy Grace. So Nancy Grace had shared something, and she was doing an interview on, I think it was Fox News, yeah. And she told Fox News that she had learned that the killer had entered through the glass sliding door, which we heard about that a few times, on the second floor. And I've even pointed that out in some of the videos. And so he entered through the second door, the glass door on the second floor, and killed Ethan and Xana first. This is the first time I'm talking about that part. Because she I like to think she's a reputable person. Her husband was murdered, and I believe that is something that led her to become a prosecutor and then to get into this, where she is a media expert around crimes, right? And so she said that Ethan and Xana were killed first, which also goes back to why police may be zeroing in on Ethan and Xana, right? Makes total sense to me. And so she said that then afterwards the killer makes his way upstairs to the third floor, where he then kills Maddie and and the other one, Maddie and Kaylee. Which also leads the question, okay, Kaylee is said to be the one that has the most wounds, right? The most defensive wounds, or the most wounds in general, making it look like she was the target. But if these two kids were killed first, then wouldn't they be the target? And again, if they were killed first, someone would have to know the layout. And then the next question is, did they know that Ethan was there with them? That's an interesting question on its own. And so now, according to Nancy Grace, now they have trace evidence that has confirmed that Xana and Ethan were killed first. And so now the FBI should be able to separate Ethan and Xana's blood from the killer's as he was going upstairs, right? And isolate them all and be able to say, okay, this blood matches this blood matches there, and this blood that we don't have a trace here has to be the killer. And why would the killer have blood? Well, my guess is someone's got defensive wounds here, which leads me to believe, and that very few times you stab so many times, how do you not have wounds on yourself? How do you not have wounds? And some of them, or one or two or whatever, had defensive wounds. Defensive wounds. Which also leads me to believe that someone either woke up and then started fighting for their life, or heard something before someone got there and then began fighting for their lives. But I would think if this is true about this part, that Xana and Ethan were killed first, and then they went upstairs, because there was another time where one of the parents was like, why did they have to go upstairs? Almost like if you got your perp first, Ethan and Xana, which almost adds up to now that comment from, I want to say it was Kaylee's mom that said that, then why go upstairs? Or you're like, okay, I'm going to make my way up here, but these people are closer to me right now, and I don't want them to escape, and let me kill them first. I'm playing detective right now. I'm playing detective. As detectives, they sit behind closed doors and talk. You and I right now, whoever's watching, we're talking. We're talking right now, right? We're playing detective. That's why you're following. You want to know what's going on here. A lot of people like to give their input. You're welcome to put your input down below. I'm more of a fan of let's be reasonable and not throw people under the bus, And so this should help identify the killer, because this is big news. He would have to be cut when he left the scene. He would have to have blood on him somewhere. Have they found any blood that left a trail? My gosh, you can't leave this place clean. That has to be hard to leave this place clean. That's my thought process on that. So what do you think about that? Seriously, let me know in the comments what you think about that. This stuff is so confusing in so many ways. And so, I want to know more about this. Literally, I want to know more about this. And so, did someone see the girls sometime early in the morning and then followed them? Is the hoodie guy at the grub truck? I'm still suspect on him, just because the way that video went, the way he didn't have his hoodie on when he arrives there, then It's almost like he stands to the back. Let me change my thing around. Let me put my hoodie on. I thought that was a little odd on its own, so I find that a little suspect. But again, that doesn't make him a killer. And, but the father he's speaking out. He's an angry person, and I don't blame him. We're going on almost a month, and we don't have answers. Who would not be upset about this whole thing, right? Who would not be upset about this? And so I want to know where they're at. I don't need to know everything. I just want to know, is this true? There's someone, they're kind of leaning towards someone, they're thinking someone. I don't know. But then you have all these people that are leaning towards Jack Showalter. And I'm only bringing this out here because his name has popped up. And of course, you're going to be curious. He may be in Africa. He may, I'm guessing he is in Africa, and that's why we're not getting a statement yet. Or he's lawyered up. We don't know all of these things yet. But why hasn't he said anything, especially if he's lawyered up? I mean, really, if you knew you were innocent, you'd probably be speaking. Unless everyone under the sun is calling you guilty, then you probably don't want to speak yet. You probably want to lawyer up and give your statements. Because you could be freaking innocent as can possibly be. AKA, I believe Jeremy's innocent. But don't tell the internet sleuths that, right? They want to be the experts and look at his body language and give that away. Oh my God, why is he always in the limelight? I don't know. He was a neighbor, right? And so, that's where I don't understand a lot of this. You probably don't understand a lot of this. But what we do know is that 4 innocent lives were taken, and they have lost their lives way too soon. And so Brian Enton had shared that the flag at half-staff at the Sigma Chi fraternity in Moscow, Idaho, the fraternity president told Brian Enton that they don't have any surveillance cameras and have told police everything they know about Xana and Ethan being at the house before the murders. Okay, so they've allegedly spoke to the president of the fraternity, and fraternity president means it's a student, not some president of a corporation of Sigma Chi. The Sigma Chi president there at the University of Idaho. And so he says that he told the police everything he knows, right? And so I think that is key to know. And so I want to share that detectives are still seeking any outside surveillance video that was taken from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. on Sunday, November 13th, from any businesses and residents within the geographical area listed below. West Taylor, north boundary, West Palooza River Drive, south boundary, Highway 95 south to the 2700 block, or Highway 95 South East boundary, Arboretum. It's hard for me to pronounce that word over and over. You've heard me try to say that word previously. Arboretum and Botanical Gardens West boundary. So detectives are still seeking any tips around that. And so if you know anything, if you have anything around there, my friends, please share that. But at this time, a lot of people have been clear. Does it mean that they can't come back to the light? Absolutely not. They can most certainly come back to light. That is what investigations are. Maybe at first you might have a strong alibi, right? But then all of a sudden they're poking holes in your alibi. They're poking holes in where you're saying you were. And what we want to know is this a student? Is this an adult? It's hard to say. I mean, this does not look random. This does not look random. And so Idaho State Police say that Ethan and Xana were likely at the fraternity house the whole time. Okay? So just so you know, like if they were, there should be something. There should be some video surveillance somewhere that shows them either entering the block where the Sigma Chi fraternity is, leaving the block where the Sigma Chi fraternity is. And the only thing that I want to know is Steve Goncalves and family on the right track when they say that these people were ruled out way too soon in the murders of these 4 beautiful kids? Is that what they're saying? Like, Steve is so frustrated for obvious reasons, right? But is he on the right track here? Like, how could people have been, oh, this guy had an alibi. We written him off so fast, like, I mean, some people are still pointing at the ex-boyfriend. I don't even understand how they are pointing at him, because every sign, I mean, he was allegedly asleep, not even in the area. But they're still pointing at an ex-boyfriend. And so now we need to know, I will say this, they need to get the DNA of Jack Showalter just to rule him out if they haven't already. Now, we don't know if he submitted DNA. Again, police are tight-lipped about a lot of things, but I would like to think that they would say if he submitted DNA. We found out Jeremy submitted DNA. But what we don't know is, for sure, did he submit DNA? They did clear him, though. But again, someone can be cleared and then be brought to light later on. Right? So that's what we don't know. Right? And you take something like the Gabby Petito case. When she was missing, they didn't know where she was. Brian Laundrie came back without her. Now, granted, he was just a person of interest, but we all knew, like, okay, Brian, you obviously did something if you're not speaking. And even in there was no DNA. He was just a person of interest. And then there was a warrant because he used her funds to get back home. But the question does lead, like in this particular case, how do we not have more footage? Truth is, there might be more footage. We just don't know about it yet. Simply because they're tight-lipped. They cannot share. So in the meantime, because they cannot share, we have to play internet detectives, right? We have to play internet detectives. And so now they're trying to figure out this gap in the timeline for Xana, Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin's whereabouts. And police are asking everyone for any information that you may have in this gap in the timeline of these 2 young kids who were part of this quadruple homicide. But I want to know too, like, come on, please, people, someone knows something. It's truly hard to do this and then get away. I mean, you have a bunch of jacks that are involved with this. They're like, to me, I find that strange on its own. It doesn't really mean anything, but you have a Jack Showalter, you have Jack Ducour, you have Jack Katovich. I probably pronounced his name wrong. But coincidentally, there's 3 Jacks surrounding this case. Again, none of them have been made suspects. So it's important that we make that very clear. But what do you think about this? Please let me know in the comments what you think. What do you think about the dad's assessment of things? Where is he getting his information from? I find that pretty interesting on a lot of things that he has been sharing. Where is he getting this information from? And I believe he's also the one that says, hey, I know stuff. I'm not saying why won't the police share stuff? But then he goes on and says some stuff. Again, I'm not knocking him. I'm thanking him, really. Because think about it. Not only did the killer go into a home that was supposed to be occupied by 6 adults, right? You had 2 living on the top, 2 living in the middle, 2 living on the first. 6 adults who were said to be on this lease of this home. Now there happened to be 6 adults there with Ethan being there. But whoever. Now a lot of people have insinuated it's a he. I mean, you could have a G.I. Jane that does all this, that can be super, super equipped with her hands, strong as can be. But a lot of people are leaning towards a male. I'm even leaning towards a male. But, this home is next to a large apartment complex that have so many people out and about. And it's near a University of Idaho campus. There's always people cruising around, walking around, riding around late at night. Whether they're coming home from parties, coming home from breaking night. But this isn't a secluded area. There has to be someone who saw something. And if Kaylee is the main target, how would someone know where to find her and what room to look for in unless they knew the layout of the home? Which to me kind of makes me feel like this person did know the layout of the home. Because if you're walking into her home, wouldn't it be kind of dark? I mean, I'm guessing it might be a night light or something. We do know that they had some Christmas lights on. So it can't be completely dark. But someone gets in there, how do they know where to go unless they were familiar? But then again, if they were familiar, why didn't they go down to the bottom one? It is said that there are some locks on these doors. I haven't been able to confirm that, obviously, because I don't live inside and no one has really shared. But the dad did comment that he had to come and fix one of these locks, that he hadn't had a chance to lock the door or get a chance to fix that lock just yet. I believe it was Steve Goncalves who you see in this picture. And they said that so my other thought process is maybe the killer could not go downstairs because that door was locked. If it's true that these doors had locks on them, that could definitely be a reason why they didn't go downstairs, because maybe that door was locked. And maybe the other 2 doors weren't locked. But at the same time, how did this person know to go into Xana's room and then Ethan was there with them? And then you also had the dog in one of these empty rooms, allegedly. And so how would the killer know where to go? That's a question that I have as well. And so, if Kaylee's dad says that, he fears that the hoodie man is spotted lingering near his daughter and Maddie was ruled out so quickly, I kind of buy that as well. I'm on his side with that comment. Like, because watching that video, I'm like, hopefully they checked his alibi. Hopefully hey, we got to rule everyone out. We just want to do some DNA so we can rule you out. Right? So that would be great. That would be great. But you have 6 people in a home and 1 killer? But they haven't, at the same time, have not ruled out whether there was more than 1 killer. So we also have that we need to keep in our mind, right? And so that's interesting on its own as we continue to find out more. But the fact that the killer was able to kill 4 separate people without alerting anyone, that's alarming to me. That's alarming to me. And so, that's where, some say that the hoodie guy had been acting weird at the bar and that the girls had complained that he was creeping them out. And even other people said he was creeping them out. And so one person, the person who got the statement said they confirmed, but the one person said my niece was with them and her roommates along with other sorority sisters that evening at the bar. And they said that he creeped the girls out that much to make a complaint. That's interesting. And so, again, we still don't know all this. And we don't know why. Why was Hoodie Guy even there? He didn't buy any food. For a second, he looked like he was even in line, waiting his turn. But no one sees him go up and buy food. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know you will. And I'm a fan of accountability because I want to play detective, right? I'm playing detective here. I make it very clear. I want to play detective. It's one of the reasons I love true crime. I want to solve things. If I had to do life all over again, I'd probably become a detective. I just don't know if I could ever handle blood. I do struggle with that, right? And so, but he gets to the food truck. I don't see him order food. But he gets there and he made them feel uncomfortable. Did you notice that she took a picture? She kind of took a picture almost like, again, she was in a true crime as well. So that could be a reason. And I'm going to give credit. I can't give the username credit because I don't remember. But someone did comment on my post, on my YouTube video yesterday about, and I did report this previously about her being a true crime sleuthy and knowing she has to be aware. So maybe that's why she took the picture. Thank you for whoever reminded me for that part, because that's a very great comment. But where's her phone? Where's her phone? Right? That picture should be on that phone. Right? And if this guy who is the hoodie guy, I'm gonna refer to him as the hoodie guy because I feel kind of like, throwing his name out there a billion times and he may have nothing to do with this is just not right. But hoodie guy, let's refer to him as hoodie guy. But how did he arrive there? Did he walk there? Did he drive there? Where was his vehicle? Where was his vehicle? Again, I'm playing detective. Did he get there on an Uber? Did he have a private ride as the other girls? And then hoodie guy, if they're seen here around 1 something, right? He says he leaves about 2 a.m. to go on a 5-hour trip. Why did he stop at the food truck place? Where's the food that he stopped for? And then he's going to a hunting cabin? But if he is said to be heading to Africa, as that was part of his alibi, allegedly, doesn't he have school? Isn't he a student? I mean, he was kicked out of a fraternity, so he must still be a student. So, what do you think about that? Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Because I find this very suspicious in its own. But some people are still suspicious of Kaylee's ex in this case. I don't know about that. I'm really not suspicious about that. But if you are suspicious of Kaylee's ex, let me know in the comments why. Because her blowing up the phone in the middle of the night does not. And if that is his phone that she was blowing up, the ex-boyfriend, why would that make him a suspect? Let me know in the comments. Again, we're both playing detectives here. So let me know in the comments how that would be a part of it. Right? And so, but what we don't know is how much video footage do they have? There's no way that these cops do not have video footage. That's probably a fair statement, wouldn't you say? There is no way these cops do not have video surveillance somewhere. But, and then we know about this 911 call of an unconscious person. And what I've come to find out is that someone, one of the roommates, it could be Bethany, it could be Dylan, one of them passed out on the front after witnessing what had happened inside. And she had the phone. She drops her phone, and a passerby picks up the phone and calls 911 about the unconscious person right there. That's why there was a 911 call about an unconscious person. I'm saying this for the first time because I hadn't reported on it. I've known about it for a little while, but every time I go live, I've not shared that part. That's where the unconscious person comes in. Of course, in the early days, we didn't quite know that. And so, but think about that. And then that's why multiple people were talking to dispatch about this. And my question now is there going to be something soon? Is there going to be a break in this case? I feel like law enforcement has promised us that this will not go cold. Does that mean that they got something on there? Law enforcement has definitely said this will not get cold. They will find the perp, which tells me that they got more than they're sharing, which makes total sense to me, right? Let's make sure there's nothing before I get off here that is a breaking or anything like that. And so what we want to know is there a serial killer on the loose? Is this actually targeted to one or more of the kids? Right? I'm sure you probably want to know that same thing. See something here? You probably want to know that exact same thing as I do. And as the cops continue to zero in on Ethan and Xana's whereabouts, what we want to know is, where's the videos? I video footage somewhere. I'm sold. There has to be video footage somewhere. And so Avery Shannon says, yes, FBI and state police are involved. Thank you for joining, Avery. If you guys notice, I like to save the comments for the end of the show. I feel like I just need to focus on the content material. And then if someone doesn't want to see the comments or read what some of the input is, these are the live comments. They're not here after for the most part. But I save this part for the end so I can just focus on the heart of the story at the beginning. And so that is FBI, Avery saying that FBI is involved. I appreciate that. Okay, JDR corrected me. Nancy's fiance was killed. They had not been married. Thank you, JDR. Hey, check out JDR's channel as well. Doing great work over there. How does NG know they have trace evidence that the male and female were? Great question. And maybe I should wait for the cops to report on this, but I kind of trust her. I like her. I'll know herself. So forgive me if I'm putting this out there a little too early. Hey, if Nancy Grace can share it on the public media, why can't I, is my thought process. But that's a great question. Maybe she's got some inside information. I don't know. And JDR shares, people are saying he was wearing gloves. Where did they get that info? That part I don't know. I hope I didn't say that without knowing. I don't know anything about that part. People are saying, okay. Well, there was a handprint allegedly found on a window. I've not reported on that either. So if there's a handprint and it belongs to the perp, they probably didn't have gloves on. I'm not going to put this up there. Let's see. Andre asked a question. Is it true that one of the girls was an OF? Only space. Fans model. I've not heard anything about that. I'm not going to go there at all. And Wildridge, I hope you're getting that from, or sorry, Andre, I hope you're getting that from a reputable person. Wildridge, I do not think at all whatsoever. I saw people talking about that. No, I personally do not believe they are at all involved in this case whatsoever. Nothing. I don't think anything is related to any of their past histories, the parents' histories. I am not buying into that theory whatsoever. JDR says nobody's parents are involved in this horrid murder. I agree with you, JDR. What about the hand? Oh, someone's asking about that question. Andre Ball, that's a great question. That was something I was just bringing up as well. Like, there is said to be a handprint. We don't know more than that. And so Wildridge says, how does Steven know the killer entered on the second floor? How does he know the girls didn't suffer? So Wildridge, that's a great question there. Multiple people are reporting that he came in through the second floor sliding door. That part has been confirmed multiple times. And as I said, Nancy Grace even said came through the sliding door in the second floor. How does he know the girls didn't suffer? That part, I don't know. That part, I don't know about that. And how did he know the severity of the victims? That's why I don't understand. Where's he getting a lot of this information? Someone must have said something, and then he's starting to theorize a little bit of it. Was Kaylee's wounds more severe because she was the first victim, and by the fourth victim, that I don't mean to laugh at it, but by the fourth victim, the perp was tired or exhausted. I'm sorry that I even chuckled a little bit. That did catch me off guard. I didn't expect to read that, but I don't know. That's a good question. But here's the truth: we find out that the first victims were Ethan and Xana. So if that is true and proven, that's what we know about that particular area. So that's what we know about that part. And let's see where else here. Let's see. Isn't the ex-boyfriend who she recently dumped moved away from a much more likely suspect? Well, out of anger, possibly out of anger. Um, that's a great. I'm assuming that you're referring to Jack Decor. I think that's his name. It's hard to keep these Jacks and Jakes together, but I mean, I'm sure that maybe at first he was someone they wanted to talk to, but at the end we don't really know. Um, so Wildridge, you're right. It seems like any new development seems to always come from Kaylee's father. I find it hard to believe Ellie is releasing that many details. And that's the thing is that some stuff that he's reported first, then Ellie came out with it, or some other one was able to actually confirm that it was happening. Um, yeah, because it would mean that he knew she was sleeping at Maddie's. Yeah, that's a fair statement. Because the ex-boyfriend would have known, and he was the one they were allegedly blowing up that day on the phone, right? They're like, hey, phone call, phone call, phone call, phone call. I still don't believe that he has anything to do with it. I really do. One person shared they have nothing. Well, I'm going to say this. They do. I mean, if you're a true crimer and you follow a lot of this stuff, you've seen a lot better handled uh, homicides than this. Many people had the code for the locks allegedly. And that's what I'm saying. This was a party house. But where was this code to the locks at? Was it to the main entrance, or the was it to the one of the bedrooms, all of the bedrooms? Cuz I'm doubting everyone has the bedroom codes if this is true. But a lot of people probably had the main code to get into the main home. That's a fair statement because we do know this is a party house. Dim is asking, do I think Jack S is guilty? At this time, I do not. At this time, I do not. But I will say, I do think they need to get his DNA if they haven't already to clear this guy because his story does not quite make sense if this is him at on the video at the food truck. Ethan and Dana were at a fraternity house the entire time. That is what we are hearing. Vast majority of targeted knife attacks are lovers, ex-lovers. It's a more passionate way to kill someone. That is a fair statement. And that's normally when these are a crime of passion, as they refer to it. But were they scoping out the house first, looking through the windows, see when everyone gets home, and then pounce? They did check the surrounding areas. Come on, there would have to be something there if there was someone scoping out those, right? So Dr. Lip, yeah, says good. That's a good point. Thank you, Wildridge. I appreciate that. I'm just playing detective over here, and we got to keep the story in front of people. Thank you for the correction. I'm sure I'm gonna still struggle. Arboretum. I still struggle. The police released the body and autopsy back to him. To the dad? That's a fair statement. Okay. Then that means that he would know a little more than some of us, right? That's a fair statement. Because if they did release that, that makes sense why he's got some stuff that no one else is sharing with us. Thank you, Doc. So I think that's interesting comments that a lot of people are making in this particular case. I mean, truth is, we can't let this thing die at all. This cannot die out. I don't care what anyone says. This needs to stay in the pipeline in front of everyone. And so, one of the stepfathers of the murder victims, he speaks out. He's upset. I don't blame him. I don't blame the whole family for being upset around the whole case because let's be real, none of this stuff makes sense. Is that not a fair statement? None of this makes sense. So one of the stepfathers of the Idaho, he's like, I want to know why this is not getting some more information out there from others to others. And so he spoke about his anger. So the stepfather of one of the students, Scott Laramie, he described that the nightmare of losing his and his wife's only child as the hardest thing in the world. Mr. Laramie, he is the stepfather of Madison Mogen, one of the 4 students. And so he says it's still hard to believe sometimes. We get up in the morning and it's like, nah, this isn't happening. Then it kicks in. He would share this with Fox. We love her and we miss her, and it's the hardest thing in the world to try to figure out and how to live without her. Mr. Laramie also spoke about his anger and frustration as the perpetrator continues to escape justice. They update us every day. We ask them to check in with us, whether they have anything or not. We are angry. Anybody would be. I'm just hoping they come up with something sooner than later. I just would like to have justice for these kids. I don't blame you. I do not blame you. And so Moscow police have said that the 2 surviving housemates were in the home, but that was it. And the other friends who were in the home when the 911 called, like, everyone's been written off as suspects in this. But that man on camera with Mogen and Goncalves at a food truck in that downtown area, a man at the private party who then gave the pair a ride from the truck were also ruled out as suspects. These are things that they need to be following up on. But right now, police do believe that this is a targeted and closed in. But come on. We don't know. All we can do is wait to find out more. I think a lot of you are probably like me. This really feels like a surreal thing. Like this doesn't feel. It doesn't even feel real. So the fix is in 2020 says Murphy is the key. I think they had the killer in the home. Yeek. That's a pretty bold statement there. I think they knew the killer. That's why the dog was in a different room. Maybe the 2 wasn't asleep and had somebody over. Okay, but the question is, Was that room open? When they got there, was the door open? Right? If the door was open, the dog could easily go in there by himself. My dog does it all the time. But if the door was not open, well, then you know someone's very close to this. And so Bert asked the question. I'm not gonna put that up there. If anyone sees that question, you can answer it. I've not heard about anything like that. I'll. But the fix is in 2020. Why was the dog in a different room and no barking? That's what we're trying to figure out. I think I will share this because if anyone's heard anything about this, I do want to hear. Has anyone heard about an alibi about someone cutting their hand on a bread slicer at work? I've not heard anything about that, but truth is, they would be able to match someone's blood if that was the case, if they were tied to this. So, unless you're talking about one of the girls, but I haven't heard anything about anyone's alibi. They haven't cut, and then because they're still going to be able to match the DNA if they were the perpetrator in this case. My friends, my whole goal is to keep you updated on what could go wrong in this crazy world we live in, and even through surreal stories like this. I still can't believe that this has happened. And my wife, who I try, because I'm a big true crimer, I don't like to talk about true crime all the time to her because I don't want her to think I'm getting crazy or. So I try to, be normal. But my God, she's talking about the story to me more than I'm bringing it up to her. She even sent me something today, like, who's this guy talking? Was there something breaking? I'm like, no, I don't know about anything news. But so that's how much this story is like, it's almost like, as I said, it's a surreal moment to see this stuff. It literally is. Like, how can we not feel like that? This person, Lucky Ree, says, I feel like it's more than one murderer. How can one person murder four people and make no noise, no screaming to wake up roommates? That's a great question. That's one thing we still don't understand. But I will say that some people can sleep like a log, and especially if you're a partier, you've been drinking, you're gonna sleep through a lot. That's part of something that I just really can't. I can't get behind why they can't hear it. Yeah, I understand that. But if some of them died in their sleep, there's not gonna be much screaming there. One of them or two of them or multiple, I'll just say maybe one or multiple have defensive wounds. So there might be some screaming there. But Laughing Hawk shares, lots of dogs don't bark at people entering their home. That's not a big deal. My dog barks as soon as someone's walking up, but once you walk in, she's no longer barking. She wants to play with you or jump on your lap and all that stuff. But Andre, that's what I was sharing earlier. Possibly a crime of passion. Generally, that's, you know, but it would have to be someone that didn't plan this, but at the same time, maybe they were rejected and then they got upset. I don't know. It could be so many different possibilities around this. So that's my thought process. But Lucky Reed, that's a good question. How can one person murder four people and make no noise, no screaming to wake up roommates? It is still a good question, even though I feel like people can sleep through. But two roommates sleeping through that? What are the odds on that? But I also don't think that the girls have anything to do with it. I don't think that the roommates, I mean, one of them passed out when they woke up, went upstairs and saw Ethan on the floor, passed out. I mean, like, wow. And hadn't the other roommates just arrived home, or am I wrong? I need to learn more details. That's a great question there because again, the timeline was actually updated. At first, the cops were given a little bit of misinformation until digital surveillance had tightened their time to when they actually got home. So, we don't know what was heard. In all honesty, it's like it's a tree falls in the forest, but nobody heard it. Did the tree fall? Great question. Great question. Keep in mind that the girls were allegedly drinking and defensive wounds could have come without screaming if they had slow reaction. Laughing, that's kind of along the lines of what I just shared because that is so true. We don't really know, right? if they were drinking, they were partying, and if some of them died in their sleep, that's not going to be much screaming. And if the girls at the very top had the defensive wounds, I mean, you're talking 2 levels up, right? Maybe one had defensive wounds, the other was killed in their sleep. That could always be, right? And so I'm just thinking it could have been more than one killer. That, that until law enforcement gives us more, all we can do is continue to speculate, right? I could be here all day. By the way, thank you so much for joining me on this because, we have to keep this in front. The media has to keep this in the front because I'm thinking that more and more people, because tips are coming in left and right. Tips are continuously coming in left and right out of the gate. But what we don't know is, hey, why? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? We want to know, is there more to this? Is there more to this? Because truth is, my friends, these kids were taken way too soon. Young adults. They were seriously looking for the rest of their lives. And they had a lot of life to live and a lot of love to give. And somebody took that away from them. Making sure there's no latest updates before I get out of here. And so we don't really know. We don't really know more than that. We don't really know more than that. I will share that I did find out that, back to JS, the grub truck guy, hoodie guy, we do find out that his family comes from a well-prominent family. We do find that out. And so, what does that mean? Do they have influence? Do they have money? Can they do a lot? But here's the truth. If the truck guy, the hoodie guy, and his brother, as has been alleged, was adopted from Kenya, well, they have reasons to go to Africa, which doesn't sound out of the ordinary. And, but that's really all we know, right? That's really all we know. And so, what we don't really know is why. And what we don't really know is who was the actual target. That's what we really don't know. My friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I better get off here because I could stay on here all day talking about this stuff because we need justice. And I feel like the more this stays in front of people, the more we can find out. Because Kaylee's dad, he admitted that he fears that a hoodie wearing man, he was ruled out way too soon. I kind of agree with him. Not saying that he did anything, but was he ruled out because DNA was taken? Let us know so we can get off of him. Was he ruled out because of his alibi? Well, I'm not really so sold on that. If he left at 2 a.m. and drove 5 hours after drinking at the bar, I'm not going to be sold on that, though. But the dog was found in the room where the crimes had not been committed. So, So let me ask you this. If you know, can you confirm that each room had a coded lock? Can you confirm that? Does anyone know that question? Does each room? I mean, again, we're probably going to have to speculate. And so far, it doesn't look like police have released any information today. They did share a little bit of information yesterday, but we don't really know. But my thought process, and you tell me what you think. There's a lot of people surrounding this story. Do you believe that everyone's a suspect until this is solved? Right? Is everyone a suspect? I That's a question I have. Laughing Hawk shares there are photos that show not all of the rooms had coded locks. Thank you. Not sure if that was before or after the one data put them in. Okay. Wait for all the lawsuits coming. Making money will be the ultimate sad thing about this story. I'm not too sure who's making money there. We need justice. Yes, I believe that. We need justice and a killer locked up. Kiki, just don't watch, my friend. I don't know why you got to even come on here and say dumb things. Just don't watch. No big deal. No big deal. But hey, thanks for the engagement, I guess. Right? But I don't know why people want to do that. It happens. Hey, you better have thick skin if you're going to be in this, right? Because, people with fake names on can always say stuff. One thing the cops can't say is that there is no danger to the public. There most definitely is until the psycho is found, since no one knows. Now, I'm going to let that be the last comment before I get off here. But I'm going to tell you my thought on that. This is me. I believe you. I do believe that I believe until this person is caught, there is a danger to the public. If I was a University of Idaho student, me being me, the way I think, the way I am, knowing my personality, I would still be going to school. And following this story, I would think that I would not be in danger, because I do believe the part about it being targeted. I do believe that, and that's why I say that. Now, if there was a serial killer on the loose, I'm not going anywhere near them. If the cops were saying we don't think this was targeted, I'm not going anywhere near there. But the fact that they continue to say this was targeted, that's what makes me feel like this was targeted. So I am buying into that theory that they were targeted. So the Fixes In says they would sleep with a gun until they are caught. I can appreciate that. So you guys you're great with these comments, and I want to just keep going and keep going on it. They aren't going to hit up the same area twice with a quadruple homicide, so the students are most likely safe right now. Laughing Hawk, that's my thought process. Someone knew, I feel like someone knew the layout, someone knew what they were doing. And if there are locks on these doors, maybe that the basement one was locked, but I feel like someone was targeting. But why go after 4 if you were targeting 1? That's a good question on its own. Right there. My friends, I'm Manny Rodriguez. Hey, if this is the type of content you like to follow, I would be grateful if you hit that subscribe button. Because here's the truth. This is not about me. This is about being a voice for the victims. This is about bringing light to what could go wrong in this crazy world we live in. Because truth is, humans are inherently evil. And it's up to us to not be evil. God gave us choices. Choose not to be evil. But if you know, the more you can be careful, the more you can be aware. Because things can happen any which way. Being from New York City, being mugged twice, actually mugged once, and another attempted mugging where I was just like, I'm not going to deal with this, and I walked away. I thought I was about to get jacked from behind. They didn't come after me. And I was in high school both of those times. This is a crazy world we live in, my friends. I don't live in New York City because my upbringing made me hate New York City, but I learned a lot while living in New York City. And I thought they cleaned it up over the years since I left, but it looks like it's gone downhill quick again. They need to make some changes out there, because that's a country in its own right now, and it looks like a civil war in some ways. Stay out of the subway. I'm scared about that subway. I'm reaching out to my family like, stay out of the subways. What is going on over there? They're like, we take the bus everywhere. Thank you, Lord. So that's the whole purpose of this. to keep you updated on what could go wrong in this crazy world we live in. My friends, I'm Manny Rodriguez. Believe it or not, I'm truly grateful you've joined me today because this is a story that needs to stay in front of everyone. There's a lot of true crime stories, and there are some that hit harder than others. This quadruple murder has definitely hit hard for a lot of people. They do not understand. I don't understand. And at the end of the day, we just want to be a voice for the victims. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to serving you again. My friends, have a great day and be careful out there. Peace. Have a good one.